been a while since I played that whole thing. Hope you guys liked it. Welcome to V Radio. I saw the Rundown Live is checking us out on Facebook. That's pretty awesome. Today, my guests are going to be Nathan DeBruin and GoodLawgic. Nathan DeBruin was photo Chad during the course of the Kyle Rittenhouse hearing. I had reached out to Grambo. Unfortunately, she was not available tonight. And GoodLawgic is a good buddy of mine who was kind enough to bring me on his stream, and he was one of the law tubers. Strategic Eyes will eventually be joining us. He just got home, so we'll see what's up with that. If you guys haven't checked out GoodLawgic and Strategic Eyes, those are both really good shows. So I'm going to bring on my guests and talk to you guys. And once again, thanks for the rundown tuning in today. That's pretty sweet. And right after I'm done, or actually I'll probably go a little longer, but either way, you should definitely check out GoodLawgic is going to go on like he always does at 10 o'clock. And he just does great talks about a lot of different topics. So in any case, let me drag on my guests. Hey, Nathan. Hey, Joe.
Hey.
You said you were a little under the weather, Joe. How you doing, man?
I feel so sick.
What did you do to yourself?
I don't know. It's like it's 70 degrees in my house, and I'm wearing a sweater and a sweatshirt, and I'm still like freezing. Like I can't, and I have like a little bit of congestion also. But I was like, I scheduled Legal Mindset to come on tonight, and we always have like a lot of fun, and people really enjoy when he comes on. So I was like, I really don't want to cancel that. I'm going to grid it out. And then you were like, dude, you never come on my channel. Can you join tonight? I'm like, fine. It's true. It's true. I've never been here, and I've always wanted to stop by because I'm a huge fan of your work.
Well, thanks, man.
I wanted to come by. I was like, I'm gonna have to be awake anyway, so I'll just grid it out here. And I got to see Nate DeBruin also, my good friend Photo Chat. How you doing, brother?
Yeah, go ahead and tell us. Oh, you're muted, Nate.
Pretty good. Obviously, I hope you feel better very shortly.
Thanks.
But I've been doing pretty decently.
Good.
So, anything? So, like you said, you got who coming on tonight?
Legal Mindset.
Okay. And what are you guys going to talk about?
He was the guy who was on with Nick Rekieta when LawTube became a thing and went viral when they were watching Gaige Grosskreutz together. So it was he, Legal Bites, and Legal Mindset who were there when Gaige Grosskreutz made the admission that Kyle didn't fire until he had a gun pointed at Kyle's head. And the three of them just like lost it. I actually clipped that out because I plan on sharing that. But he's a good friend of mine. He's a passionate guy who does not mince his words. And we happen to have a very great repartee with each other. So
the Rundown Live says hi to you guys.
Yes, I did meet him in New York. He was great. He and I were covering the Ghislaine Maxwell trial every day. We used to hang out in the viewing room together with 30 other reporters, just watching the testimony day by day. He's a great guy.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of his content myself, so it's pretty cool to have. Like, I just finally got to the point where I could do stuff on Facebook again because for some reason I couldn't before. So then the day I finally do it, I randomly have the Rundown Live. A guy that I watch, is now watching us. That's pretty fantastic. So for those of you who are new tuning in, I am V Radio. I used to be a big podcaster, and Justin TV was a precursor to YouTube way back in like 2008-ish, I think. That was when I got my start doing activist style journalism. I was part of the Occupy movement. Oh, look at that, Johnny Walker Dread. I'm here. You can start the show now. That's another great channel you guys should check out. But anyway, so I cover a lot of stuff. While I'm left-leaning personally, the vast majority of my content is actually not really geared towards right versus left. It's geared towards truth versus not. And a lot of it's like I actually did a poll recently of my viewership. 17% MAGA Republicans. I think it was like 43% independent conservatives and 34% left-leaning independent or third party, and then like very few actual Republicans and Democrats, which is fine with me. So in any case, today we're going to be talking about a couple of things. One thing that came up, oh wait, another guest joined us. Hey, Strategic Guys!
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I know this guy. I've seen some of his work. Oh, I've been waiting to. I was like, I know that name. I've seen him do some great breakdowns. I think Neil actually shared a couple of your videos with me, and I was like, man, this guy, he's going places. He's
I told you about him a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I appreciate that immensely, man. You guys are awesome, man. I'm happy to be here. I appreciate you guys giving me the invite. Right now, I'm in YouTube jail.
Are you?
Yeah,
you got a strike?
2 weeks. Yeah, I got a strike, man. Second strike in a month. So
you got to walk carefully now. You can't get that third one.
Yeah, I'm thinking about. I'm doing some soul searching, and I think I'm gonna start focusing a little bit more on true crime, and because I've just been going hard on the social stuff. YouTube doesn't like that, man.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you do to get in trouble?
I put a video up of an African American male saying racial epithets at an Asian guy, and then the Asian guy retaliated and punched him. So I'm like, hey, racism isn't good no matter who does it. You know what I mean? Like, kind of, I'm on the Asian guy's side because, YouTube didn't like that. I should have known better, man. I should have known better.
Yeah.
So, man, I can't believe they zapped you about that. I mean, when I did my video, the truth about racism between Asians and blacks, like it starts with a Black Lives Matter activist following an Asian cop around, calling him the CH word over and over and over and over. And then this white guy confronts him and says, hey, stop doing that. That's racist. And the guy immediately says, black people can't be racist. So you can just follow a guy and call him a racial slur over and over and over again. And you and only you cannot possibly be racist.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it's great to have you on. Strategic Guys I met because he was reviewing one of my videos. And playing some of it, and it was about, what was it about? It was that guy the one who everybody thought was like profiling Rittenhouse jurors or something like that. I'm trying to remember.
Yes, I think it was it like he claimed to be George Floyd's nephew or something like that? Was it that?
Yeah, I think that's him. And I guess he's finally in jail now because
he's been in jail for a while.
Yeah, he got arrested for that, but he gets on, and then he went to a judge's door. He went to a judge's door, and said, "This is where she at," and I'm just like, "What are you doing?" Just like, "Come on, dude," So anyway, tonight's topic is going to be specifically mostly about Kenosha-related things, but I wanted to start us with one other thing first, because this just came across my desk, quote unquote. But it has to do with Darrell Brooks, the Waukesha Parade massacre killer. I'm gonna go and just pull up
alleged killer.
No, he's a terrorist. He is a alleged supremacist terrorist.
Alleged black supremacist terrorist.
Right, he's correcting me for my own sake. But yeah, so apparently he's gonna be representing himself. That I was kind of curious. I haven't watched any of the videos of this because this literally just got handed to me just right as soon as we got started. But they said that he talked in court, I guess he's doing some kind of weird sovereign citizen play or something like that. I'm trying to wrap my head around how you defend yourself in any fashion, with or without a lawyer. You take your car and you drive it through a Christmas parade, you kill 6 people, including a little boy, and then injure 40 others. I don't know how he's going to dig himself out of that. It is my intention, hopefully provided with the time and everything, that I will do the same kind of trial coverage that I did for the Rittenhouse trial. And maybe I'll have Joe GoodLawgic on to do a little law tube with me. If he could spare some time.
I was actually thinking of whether I wanted to stream that trial. It's starting October 3rd. It's supposed to run until October 27th. Unfortunately, during the next 3 weeks, I have 5 days of Jewish holidays where I can't touch electronics or be on air at all. 5 regular business days, like Monday, Tuesday, next week, Wednesday, then the Monday, Tuesday after that, and then Monday, Tuesday after that. I'm like, how's anyone gonna be able to watch me and make that a regular thing if I'm forced to shut down, for days at a time here and there? So I was kind of annoyed because I would love to watch him make his sovereign citizen claims. Do you guys know what a sovereign citizen claim is, or should we walk you through?
Go ahead and talk about it.
So a sovereign citizen claim is basically someone who his position is that he is beyond American law. That's essentially it. That there's no rights of American law that can bind him and can govern him, because everything about our system is illegal, and it's, an unfair abuse of its own citizens. And it's essentially all these claims that he cannot possibly be bound by American law and therefore can't be found guilty. There are a few people who have tried making sovereign citizen claims to not pay taxes or as defenses for committing very violent crimes, and they've worked exactly 0 times in American history. So everyone knows that he's just trying to make it a political trial rather than trying to put up a good faith defense. And his mother is very freaked out. She says that she doesn't believe he's stable, he's not right in the head, and she's trying to appeal to the court to compel him to have counsel appointed to him. Good luck. I would not envy any attorney who's put in that position where you're basically forced to be counsel for someone who does not want an attorney. That's a disaster waiting to happen. But yeah, so that's your breakdown right there.
I got a question for you, GoodLawgic, if I may jump in, because I actually watched that exchange with the judge where she actually appointed herself pro se or what have you say when you represent yourself. My concern is that I felt as though he was not stable to some degree. I think he understands what he did, but like she's actually about to rule in his favor and he's like, I object. I think that this might end up in an appeal. And I don't think any of us want to live through that. Like, do you think as an attorney that she should force that counsel? Because I think she should. I don't think this guy is capable of representing himself, especially the amount of times he interrupts the court and the outbursts that he has. That's
a phenomenal question. I can't claim to know enough about local law when it comes to the competent, what we would call competency of the defense. Whenever there's a question whether someone's sane or not, they refer to the person's competence. And I certainly didn't see the video, and even if I did, I can't tell you what yardsticks they would apply. Normally, when people are talking about insanity, that comes up when insanity is the defense. And the yardstick to win on that, first of all, anyone who claims insanity defense, you think that, if you convince the jury that you were insane, that, and found not guilty by reason of defense, that you're in for like a good life and you walk free. No. You're basically in jail for the rest of your life. But instead of it being a normal prison, it's an institution where they're monitoring you and you're living the same type, a similar type of lifestyle to what you would in a standard issue prison. But all of that comes into play when if and when he would actually plead insanity as a defense, which if I was his attorney, I probably would be looking to plead. And I understand he does not want to plead that. And in order to force him to do something, you need to show that he doesn't really have any comprehension levels at all. And even if you think that his perspectives are crazy, you know what I'm saying? Like, even if that's what you think of it, and like 99 or 99,000 out of 99,001 would think that he's literally insane, that doesn't mean that he's not sufficiently competent to make the decision as to whether or not he wants counsel, just because he's saying things that everyone thinks is, he's saying the sky is made out of cheese, so it's like, that maybe that's a clear sign too. That's not a good one. But if he says something like, he believes that Trump and Biden are both aliens that come from the planet Zygorthia, so that's that sort of thing. I don't even know if that in that circumstance he can the judge intercedes, because what the judge is doing there, what you're asking the judge to do, is basically say, we're not allowing you to decide your own defense in a certain way. That's taking his rights away from him. He wants to do his defense his own way. Now he's going to have someone else who's screwing it up by just being there and being in the way. So in that sense, the judge is sort of, a little bit forced to make sure that she's going to walk this one carefully so that he doesn't win an appeal the other way. You know what I'm saying? If she assigns an attorney to him and he's screaming the whole time, that was reversible error because I didn't want this schmuck serving as my counsel. So, and I kept saying that, and they wouldn't let me do it, and she had no right to force me to do it. That too could lead to a reversible error. So the judge really needs to make sure that she gets the right law based on local statute. And I can't tell you what that would be. But that's a good question. Great question.
So just to give people, for those of you who didn't see my earlier stuff on this topic, I did my own video shortly thereafterwards, some of which was with the help of Neo Unrealist, who unfortunately also was not available today, but you guys should check out Neo if you have not. But it's called hashtag Darrell Brooks and the Christmas Parade Massacre. This image right here was taken off of Darrell Brooks's social media by Anonymous when we were identifying the guy. Anonymous actually did a pretty fantastic job on this one. They knew who he was like almost within, I think it was like 6 or 7 hours. And right down to his Google Maps with his SUV parked out in front of his house. But as you can see, you're looking at images here that would lead you to believe that this man might have had a motivation outside of the norm. My video on this covers it very in depth, like also taking it all the way from the fact that for some reason the media was desperate to not identify the race of the man in question and instead was focused on, that it must have been a car that did it, caused by an SUV, like all of that stuff, and it was like, I went in here with this because after Rittenhouse was declared not guilty, CNN did this thing that says there's nothing more frightening in America today than an angry white man. And this was around the same time period, which is why I found it ironic. They used this picture of Kyle there. But, in the meantime, again, Anonymous tracked this guy down. And one of the reasons I cover it as much as I do is that they really want this story to go away. It does not fit any of their narrative at all. And just like the NYC, like the subway shooter, that's another guy that was a black gentleman who had some crazy black supremacist beliefs. I have a bunch of his stuff sitting on my computer. I just never did anything with it. But, but these are guys who don't fit the whole narrative that apparently all mass killers are always, straight white males. So in any case, anybody who has not watched this video, I can link it to you guys later or put it in the description, but I strongly suggest you check it out. Just be aware, in typical V radio fashion, just like when I covered the Rittenhouse trial, a lot of the video I use is going to be raw, and that means viewer discretion is advised.
Isn't it funny, though, that a white guy literally gave him the coat off his back?
Yep. Yeah, actually, that's in here, too. And there was like a white guy who had just listened to a, what was it? He said that he had just gotten done listening on the radio to a Christian broadcast that said that we needed to reach out and take care of the homeless. So then Darrell Brooks shows up on his porch and says, "Hey, I'm homeless. Can you help me?" And he brings him inside and gives him a sandwich. And, the other ironic thing, and I've discussed this with you in the past, Strategic, is that Darrell Brooks killed all those people, and then when the cops showed up, peacefully went out on the lawn and allowed them to arrest him, and he magically made his way back without being shot by the cops.
Well, I mean, he followed what I've been saying on my show for 1,000 years, both as a black man and as a law enforcement officer. Surrender, cooperate, don't fight the cops, don't give them a reason to shoot you. And look what happened. A mass murderer is now facing trial.
Right.
He's not dead.
Yep. That tends to be the formula. So anyway, that was just a brief segue, guys. Again, I know I did an extensive video on this topic. We're going to move on to a lot of work done by Kenosha County I. Now, this is not as new. I should have, honestly, I wanted to do a video about this stuff by Kevin Matheson immediately, but I was hoping to bring him on, but he's been busier than usual, but he broke the story. There's 2 articles about this, and they're short, so I'm just going to go over them. Kenosha rioting duo, including man who shot first in jail, holding for 6 felonies, including armed robbery and burglary. Shameless plug. My documentary identified that he shot first. Now, mind you, wasn't all my detective work, though. That credit goes to some other people, too. But anyway, Joshua and Kelly Ziminski were captured many times on video rioting on August 25th, 2020 during the Kenosha riots. Kelly pleaded guilty to obstructing an officer and failure to comply with emergency management order of a local government, both misdemeanors. Joshua is currently out on bond for arson. Now, mind you, there are 2 articles, so I think he's actually in jail now. But felony, disorderly conduct, use of a dangerous weapon, and obstructing an officer for his role in the rioting and the lighting a trailer on fire. I think it was actually the dumpster fire, but yes. Joshua Ziminski was seen on video firing his pistol just moments before Rittenhouse would shoot and kill Joseph Rosenbaum in self-defense. Now, what's funny about this is that the mainstream media still doesn't have this. I'll probably play a clip of it later, but they reported that the man that Kyle Rittenhouse shot is finally in jail. I was like, nope, he never shot Ziminski, guys. Come on. But it says here that Ziminski was initially held on a low 1,000 cash bond, but Judge Schroeder raised it to 13,000 on January 31st. So currently there was felony armed robbery, felony armed burglary, felony false imprisonment, felony intimidation of a victim, felony ID theft, and misdemeanor battery. And that actually, let me see if I have it on here because that's going to bring Nathan into the conversation. It said Ziminski was scheduled to go to trial this day, but was accused of intimidating a witness. In this case, Kenosha freelance photographer Nathan DeBruin. So, Nathan, what was this about? I never really got to get the full story about what happened with that. If you're at liberty to discuss it,
I can't really go into the specifics of the details, due to the ongoing trial that's going on.
Okay, no, that's totally fair. I guess just give me the scoop when you come back to it, and you can talk about
Definitely. I mean, I can go into a little detail, but it's going to be vague.
Yeah, don't do anything to
don't.
compromise yourself at all. Don't worry about it. I didn't
No.
know if it was already resolved or not.
No.
It is not.
Skip past it. You don't want to give any openings to the defendants. So.
Totally fair.
Yeah.
See, it's a good thing we have a lawyer on the stream. We should just always have you on. You can be our legal consultant right here in real time. But I'm glad to see that it's finally done. But there was another. I guess this is where this was more recent. Like literally, I guess was put out the next day. And again, I want to apologize to my audience because I normally am always Johnny on the spot about Rittenhouse stuff. I was just trying to bring Kevin Matheson on to talk about his own work, but. Kenosha riot couple held on $100,000 each for kidnapping man at knife point, forcing him to use ATMs throughout the city. So
wow.
The question I'm going to ask when I'm done with this is to the police officer and the lawyer on the call, how the hell does somebody have this long of a freaking criminal record and still walk around? It's like, it makes you wonder, does he got something on the prosecutors? Like, how does he get away with this? Anyway, Joshua Ziminski and his wife, Kelly Ziminski, were in court today and officially charged with multiple felonies. Joshua was charged with felonies, armed burglary, robbery, intimidation of a victim, false imprisonment, ID theft, and bail jumping. All felonies as a party to a crime. Kelly was charged with the same felonies without the bail jumping charge. She was not out on bail like her husband, but was on extended supervision, which is similar to parole. Kelly will likely have her extended supervision revoked and go back to prison on her earlier charges that are unrelated. Both are also charged with misdemeanor battery. Their bond was set at $100,000 each. Joshua Ziminski and his wife, Kelly, were caught on camera rioting on August 25th, 2020. We've already been over that. Lit a trailer on fire. The progressive DA, Mike Gravely, went easy on Ziminski. Yeah, that's the thing. He's apparently been easy on him for like 12 pages of criminal record. I couldn't even include everything that Ziminski had done in my documentary because it would have taken a half hour. But anyway, was out on bail at the time of his arrest for the arson. According to the criminal complaint, just says here, August 26th, about 2 a.m., Kenosha patrol officer encountered a 54-year-old man, the alleged victim in this case. He told the police that two men and a woman he knew as Bonnie just robbed him. He said that he met Kelly a week before and she had cleaned his home for money. The alleged victim told police that he had heard a knock at his door. That night it was Kelly. She asked to use the bathroom and he allowed her in, but then Joshua and the third man followed her in. Joshua then grabbed the man at knife point and demanded all the man's money in the home. Yeah, this is just... The man told Joshua that he didn't have any money in the home, but had some in his bank. So Joshua then put a knife to the man's back and pushed him outside into a full-size GMC. The man tried to dial 911, but Joshua took the phone away. They demanded the man's PIN number and ATM card. They then proceeded to drive to Lou Perrine Speedway, Quick Trip, and Chase, all on the Washington Road. Each time the transaction failed. They ended up back at Lou Perrine's. The man then escaped at the gas station. Even with the men trying to stop him, the victim was able to pick Ziminski out of a photo lineup. This means without prosecutor Binger telling him who the guy was, I assume, right? Are you allowed to comment on that one, Nathan? Anyway, Ziminski and the other man threatened to kill the man and bury him where no one would find him. The Ziminskis told the police that the reason for their actions is that the man raped Kelly. Joshua is facing almost 59 years in the Wisconsin prison system if convicted, and Kelly is facing almost 53. So some guy apparently rapes your wife, so the answer is to go to his house and then make him go to a lot of ATMs because money will make it better. So I'm going to open the floor to comments. I guess, Nate, I don't know how much you can comment on Ziminski, so it's fine if you can't. We're not only going to be talking about Ziminski tonight, but first, I guess I'll start with you, Joe. Any thoughts on this?
That is the stupidest defense I've ever heard. It makes like even if it were true, which I'm positive there's zero truth to it. Like I would. It's more likely they never met Ziminski in their life before than or Kelly than this being a rape retaliation case. But even if it were true, it literally does zero to justify kidnapping him, driving around the city, and mugging him. Because you have to go to the police. You can't take the law into your own hands and start going vigilante on somebody who you're mad at because they wronged your woman. What are you out of your mind? This is the stupidest thing ever. I mean, I hope that's their defense. Because that's, I mean, they hopefully will see a very, very long prison sentence. So,
what do you think, Strategic?
It actually sounds well. First of all, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Well, I just changed my mic up.
You sound better now. Go ahead.
Sounds good. It sounds like something that addicts would do. Like, addicts usually act as though, they act like indifferent to the consequences of their actions. So, like, that your victim knows who your wife is. She cleaned his house, right? There's no way you're going to get away with it, but we're living in the moment. It just doesn't make any sense that you'd go and specifically rob this person who knows your wife, put a knife to his neck, force him to the bank, obviously not plan on killing him, or at least we assume they weren't planning on killing him, and then think that you'd be able to get away with it. And I agree with GoodLawgic. It's definitely a terrible defense, but it sounds like they are very desperate and they might be dealing with some addiction issues and they need that quick fix for money. That's what it sounds like to me.
So I'm glad that somebody's finally doing something about these guys, but that brings me back to the question I wanted to ask, I guess, you guys as the legal people, how does somebody keep just getting in and out like this? I mean, this is literally from the comic book The Punisher from back in the 80s. The Punisher's motivation was what he referred to as the revolving door of the criminal justice system. It's what leads to guys like this having several pages of criminal activity, a lot of which is violent. It's what leads to guys like Daryl Brooks somehow being out on $500 bail for literally trying to run over his fiance with his car. Like, how does this happen? Especially in the world where we're supposed to believe, when it comes to Daryl Brooks, we're supposed to believe that all black people are just automatically just put in prison for their whole lives. Yet somehow that guy got out a bunch of times after hurting people, but then we have a guy like Ziminski. It really makes me go, what does this guy have on the DA? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me that they would just let him go forever. I guess whichever one of you wants to take that first.
Well, I mean, listen, I there's no metric as to, every different state, every municipality has their own rules on bail. Like New York's system is going to be different than Kenosha. Right now, I'm struggling with that same question that you're asking because, and the lawyer on the panel could definitely weigh in on this when he decides to, but bail is really not supposed to be punitive. It's supposed to just make sure that you come back. So you put all this money up, your family put this money up. If you don't show up to court, then they lose the money. So you're going to have an incentive to show up to court because you don't either want to lose your own money or you don't want to, hurt the people who care enough about you to put that money up. But I think for a long time, judges were actually taking into account the danger of the person on society when they shouldn't have, because that's really what bail is not supposed to do. But we were happy with it because we were keeping people in jail. We were putting up high bail numbers. Now, I think because of the activists and the political climate, number one, they're passing bail reform laws, but I don't think that Kenosha area has bail reform, because I was reading an article saying that they want to do it, but I didn't read anything saying they enacted it. But all across the country, they're starting bail reform. And even the places that doesn't have bail reform, where they mandate letting people out for almost next to no money, most likely no money because bail reform, you have judges who are setting the bail artificially low so that they can show that they're not, racist, and then there's equity and all that stuff. And at the end of the day, dangerous people should not be on the streets because they are a danger to society. And all we see time and time and time again is individuals getting out on bail, getting the opportunity to fight their trial from home, be able to meet with their attorneys, etc. And what are they doing? They're not taking that opportunity to try and fight the charge. They're taking that opportunity to victimize more and more people. So it's a complicated question because every single state has different, standards and laws, etc. But it's affecting everybody across this country the same way. It's more like perp reform, criminal reform. We seem to care more about the people who have the audacity to go out there and victimize good citizens more than we care about the people who are trying to live on a straight and narrow.
So, Joe, I know you're feeling terrible and you need to go. I wanted to give you a moment to comment on that if you wanted, and then I'll outro you and make sure to send everybody your way.
It's a great thought, strategic, as far as what is the purpose of bail, and why should one bail? Like, what are our objectives? And our objectives should have really basically be the sole determining factor as to how high you're setting bail, if you think about it. I mean, I always thought of bail as being something that's designed to basically be high enough that we feel like this guy is never going to jump bail because he's not going to expose that level of money. Now, if you have someone who's like really hurt, accused of hurting a great deal of people, I can understand a point saying that, like, if we really believe that this person's a sociopath, well, in that case, he's not going to care about money. He's a sociopath. So, and in that case, you would say the bail number should be really, really high. On the other hand, you're not allowed to find someone guilty before he's been proven, he's considered innocent until proven guilty. So just treating him as if he's known to have committed the crime seems to be a violation of the Constitution. It's a really great, deep question. I would tell you this: you need to consider one other thing, and this is the human element to a judge. And I'll share with you a quick story that I think is relevant here. Many years ago, I spent like 100 hours killing myself trying to fight against the state about a nursing home that was really improperly being shut down by a bunch of people, by the state representatives who hated my client. He owned several nursing homes, and they were just yanking out clients and claiming that there were problems with the nursing home, but never telling him what they were. And they basically were stealing his nursing home from him, because once they take out all the residents, it's gone. So he begged me to, work day and night. And I literally put in 100 hours in 1 week and just ran up to Albany and begged the judge to stop the state from pulling these residents out. And I'm there in front of the judge, and the judge calls up a representative from the state. We're in chambers. He calls him up and he's like, so you're removing them. It does seem like you're violating the law in the way you're doing that. And he's like, well, we think we have defenses, Your Honor. He's like, let me ask you this. Do you think that if I stop you from removing people, anyone's going to be in any jeopardy or any harm? Any of the residents there may be in jeopardy or harm? And the lawyer thinks for a second, didn't know anything about the case, literally knew nothing about like the situation. And he's like, yes, Your Honor. He's like, okay, so I'm going to deny the relief and I'm going to let you keep moving them. And I was like, what the hell? I actually said to the judge, like, how is this? That they're breaking the law. And what the judge said to me was a lesson that was true then, and it's true here on this bail question. He said, neither I nor any judge you ever meet will ever put their own neck on the line for someone who's worried about their financial interests and be known as a judge who lets someone die. So even if they're wrong, I'm going to give them every benefit of the doubt so that I'm never known as the judge who let some innocent person die, which is why that's relevant here too. When you're talking about someone who's accused of multiple murders and sociopathy on a scale rarely seen, that's the human element that plays into the judge. That, oh my God, if I set this bail low and this person finds some way to raise that bail and he goes and kills more people, I will go down in infamy forever as the guy who let this person kill Jane Smith, John Doe, who dies, the person who dies tomorrow. And that's a factor you can't ignore. And you can understand if you were the judge, how that would play with your head too. So, and maybe it shouldn't be playing in his head or her head, but to say that you would be different if you were in that position, it wouldn't play in your head. I think that's your problem. I wouldn't be audacious enough to say that, because I don't know that I would be able to look past that. Anyway, that's my thought on that. I'm sorry that I'm really run down. I got like this burning fever, so I really need to find some way to like cool.
No, you're all right, man. What I would do if I were you, I don't know if you can, down a Red Bull, I know that sounds crazy, but that's what if I were in your situation and I
Uh-huh.
need to go live, that is exactly what I would do: is drink a Red Bull, the B vitamins and the caffeine and the taurine. It's not healthy, but for your
All right.
situation where you need to get perked up right the second, that's what I would do.
All right, that's a good idea. Thank you, my brother. And I'll come back soon. Okay.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks. And
All right.
don't forget, everybody, guys, when he's going to be streaming tonight, go check him out. I'll put his link in the description.
You can actually raid me if you want. You can send them over to me. I don't know
I'll
if you know how to
I
set
have
that
to
up.
learn how to do that. I definitely will in the future, though.
All right, no problem. Don't sweat it, brother. Have a good night, my friend.
All right. So that was GoodLawgic, guys. I'm glad to have had him on for what time I did, just because he's feeling like crap, and he's got to go in his stream, and his streams are really long. So, in any case, we move on now to career criminal who survived being shot by Kyle Rittenhouse asked judge to change his name in secret proceedings, court records. So now you can talk, right, Nathan? You're not in any pending litigation regarding Gaige Grosskreutz?
Not with him, no.
So, like, when you're so pathetic that you want to change your name because it's probably the only way you're going to have a normal life, after what you did. But it says Gaige Grosskreutz has apparently asked a Milwaukee County judge to change his name. He's asked for the proceedings and details to be sealed from public view. Grosskreutz was 26 years old when he pointed a gun at then 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse. He was then shot by Rittenhouse in the arm. Rittenhouse was acquitted by a jury for the shooting. Yes, I'm sure everybody on my channel knows that. At that point in his young life, he had at least 6 arrests. So he's got some stuff on here I wasn't aware of. I knew that there was some stuff on him, but he's got more stuff than I was aware of. His criminal record goes back to 2007 when he was only 14 years old. We do not have his juvenile records as Wisconsin statutes prohibit police from releasing them. But we got simple assault, domestic violence, alleged to have slapped his grandmother and smashed a lamp, burglary of a home, criminal trespass to dwelling, disorderly conduct, alleged to have entered a home and stole video game equipment and broke lights with it, I guess. Criminal damage to property, alleged to have smashed a window of a house where girlfriend was and threatened her. DUI, possession of firearm by felon, possession firearm while intoxicated, endangering safety by use of a dangerous weapon, warrants, blue .159 while driving, possessed loaded firearm while intoxicated and being a felon. Loud noise and obedience to officers, loud music and refused to provide police with ID. Prowling, videotaping personal police officers' vehicles in PD parking lot. And then blue, .212 blood alcohol level. Apparently a judge dismissed that case. Obviously, you guys already know everything that he did, but this brings up the fact that he said he had a concealed carry permit, and then suddenly it turned out that he didn't have one during the trial, at least not one that was valid. So, in any case, I would have liked to have known what GoodLawgic's thought was on this. I'll ask him separately later. But what do you think, Nathan? Do you think that him changing his name is going to be able to get him to escape his past? Because it sounds to me like he's kind of got a pattern going in his life.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to change just because documents changing his name. His actions in the past have shown who he truly is and what his character is.
And what do you think, Strategic?
I mean, I'd change my name too if my name was Grosskreutz. But yeah, this guy is a bad guy. He's clearly has impulse control. He clearly doesn't care about authority. He doesn't care about law and order. So you could change your name, but it's not going to stop you from diving into whatever addiction you have, being an alcoholic, constantly getting drunk. It's not going to stop you from being the type of guy who would smack his grandmother. Think about that.
Right.
That's like serious impulse control, anger management, etc. Personally, I feel like I don't want to say that. I'm on YouTube. Let me, but
you can say stuff on my channel. You're good.
Yeah, but I still got a day job. But just say this: that this guy Kyle Rittenhouse, he is definitely an American hero.
Jeez, I originally thought about doing this video and calling it "Where Are They Now?" But some of them are still dead, and that's probably a good thing.
But
I hate
like,
to say that, but when it comes to a guy like Rosenbaum, yeah.
Isn't it amazing how all of these terrible characters somehow found a way to gravitate around Kyle Rittenhouse? Like, we're talking about in like worse to least worse people just having an interaction with him at that very moment, on that same date, that same time. A bona fide arpist,
Right.
A bona fide domestic abuser, which was his second victim. And then this guy who's like just a petty criminal who's doing all kinds of dumb things. All of them gravitate on this guy at one time, and at that same moment, same time, same place. The odds of that to me is astronomical.
Well, it's like the fact that you take a random sample of who was out there and you just happen to come up like Yahtzee. I'm showing my age. I don't know if anybody plays Yahtzee anymore, but Nathan, have you ever considered that, like, with some of the more dangerous people that we know were there, like, I mean, I guess you having been, you being somebody who was literally walking around at the time, like, have you ever considered, like, I mean, but these guys were just randomly pulled. Who else could have been in there? What other element would you have seen? I mean, I guess you got to look at like what kind of person it is that's going to go to something like that in the first place. And that's why I usually bring up what my friend Rob said was that, the two people he knows who wants to abolish police are either criminals or people who don't know anything about crime. But, I guess,
or not to cut you off, or people who are criminal enablers.
Right.
The people who, they have their brother or their boyfriend in jail, and they're the ones that write the letters and go do the visits all the time.
Right. So I guess, did you have any other crazy encounters with people out there, or see anything else that was just nuts, Nathan, that, that maybe you haven't shared in the past, or just stuff that maybe everybody doesn't know about that was going on?
No, the only big other incident that happened with me was I was accused of being a police officer, undercover cop, and they tried to take my camera, and I refused to give it up. And it's caught. That situation was caught on some video. I'll have to find it for you.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah, definitely. So I guess for me, it's just that it bothers me that this is the element that they think is going to be a good face for their movement, and they never call it out. That's really what it comes down to. I totally believe that there are plenty of peaceful, Black Lives Matter protesters who just, are down with the cause. The problem is that when stuff like this happens, the only thing that I got in response for exposing the truth about these guys was, was blowback. They were obsessed with the fact that Kyle Rittenhouse got in a fight with a teenage girl who was fighting his sister. They were obsessed with any little piece of something that they could pull out on him, but they had just no interest whatsoever in any kind of self-identification, as far as to like, what do they need to do to police themselves? A guy like Joseph Rosenbaum shouldn't have been around in the public anyway. But after the fact, the only reason I even covered any of that stuff was because, yes, it wasn't relevant to the shooting because Kyle didn't know about any of it. It was that people just said it was a lie. They just kept saying, no, it's not true. Rosenbaum didn't do any of that stuff. And there was so much of that, and it still goes on. Like, Nathan, do you encounter the same thing where it's like you still run into people who just don't know what the hell they're talking about this trial?
Oh yeah, all the time. Whether even in like off of social media, in person, I get people that still stop me, and
do they know who they're talking to?
Yeah, the things that they believe are incredible.
Oh my goodness. I still run into he fired into the crowd people. I still run into the the cross state lines with the gun people that don't realize that isn't like that was dismissed. Like, it didn't even come up again. I'm just like, how do we do this? I don't get it at all. So I want to change gears here real quickly before we go back into the conversation to kind of lighten things up a little bit. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the radio tonight. But I remember this video, and I guess in honor of Gaige Grosskreutz changing his name, we should probably watch. But maybe he's thinking about getting into a career of dance and music.
here. Ow! Listen, I wonder do you understand what I'm talking about? I'm not talking about burning down a building. It's coming from the soul. Disco funk!
Patty,
But-
man.
Yeah, it definitely matters because like
hold on a
money
second.
security, like financial security is important.
Yeah, financial security is important to me too, lady. I don't know how many people did not see that. It was getting passed around all over the place on 4chan because it was so dark. But
I never
I
saw
mean-
that. It was funny.
the arguments on Twitter that I had with him were pretty legendary. And the arguments that I had with Ziminski when he was commenting on my videos were pretty crazy. And I did videos about those if anybody wants to see them.
Ziminski commented on your videos. Did he try and kidnap you and rape you or something?
No, I avoided that part, but God, I almost wish he did because he wouldn't be in the revolving door of the justice system if he showed up at my house. But you guys might be paying the GoFundMe's to get me set free. Nah, he'd be dead as fried chicken if he showed up at my house. But yeah, it's that he commented on my videos and it was weird because at first I was like, is this really him? But then he was saying all this private stuff about him and Kelly, and then he said stuff specifically about I didn't set the fire in that dumpster, and I was like, why did he? Yeah, I think that's definitely him. So you guys can watch that video when you're, if you ever get time, just about my conversation with him. But it was pretty crazy. But in any case, so the only other thing that I had as far as what we were going to look at as far as content was the fact that they did a piece specifically about, I guess, what the prosecutors are now up to. So the other criminals in the case, where are the Kyle Rittenhouse prosecutors now? This is an opinion piece by Kevin Matthews, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll share it with you guys. But many people want to know, where are the Kyle Rittenhouse prosecutors now? Most legal professionals and folks with common sense agree the prosecutors couldn't convince Kyle Rittenhouse. They didn't have a chance. Convict, not convince. That didn't stop James Krause and T. Claire Bringer from trying their best. They also broke rules, including mentioning Rittenhouse's post-arrest silence, talking about things barred in pretrial hearings, and more. Even with the cheating, they lost. We told you about how their first trials after Rittenhouse's trial were both failures. I mean, dude, I'm pretty sure he was given the Ziminski trial, and I don't know how you fail that, but I guess you can. And obviously we can't talk about that a ton, but regardless, you got to ask yourself, looking at this, is one of the things that I came away with from watching this whole thing go down was that it really kind of made me wish that we could reform things in a certain way, in that what if there was a team that's job was just to find the truth instead of a situation where you're pitting two people, like a prosecutor and a defender against each other, and they have an incentive at that point, to screw over the other side. But that doesn't necessarily mean finding the truth at all, But it says here, James Krause learned the Kenosha Kenosha County, I learned the Kenosha Assistant District Attorney James Krause has resigned for the DA's office. His last week is upon us. We asked him where he was going in an email, and he ignored us. He lives in Milwaukee County, so we won't likely see him anymore. Binger is still an active prosecutor in Kenosha.
What?
That isn't to say he isn't desperate to leave. Did somebody say something? Oh,
No.
Okay. He has been and is currently looking for a new job. He ran unsuccessfully for DA in Racine and got defeated handily. Recently, he had applied to the Racine County Council to be appointed municipal court judge. Oh, God. Can you guys imagine that guy as a judge? After an interview, 0 out of 15 aldermen voted for Binger during his opening statement. He said, he said, okay, anyway, so, God, that dude wants to be a judge. Oh, it does have a statement, but I'm not going to read that. The guy can, live rent-free in someone else's head, but...
You know, Neil, what I think that you made a very interesting statement. I don't mean to jump in,
No, jump in.
but you said why can't we just have like, you know, a team of people, a commission or something to like seek the truth as an alternative to our adversarial criminal justice system?
Mm-hmm.
I think that you're always going to get bias, and that's why our adversarial system is the best system in my opinion. The problem is that lawyers are a club, and hopefully one day I'll get on another live stream with Mr. Logic, so we can actually parse that out between us, and then I can learn from him. But like, I've been in courts a lot, and the judges on both sides, they're all friends. They've all worked with each other, the defense attorney and the prosecutor. And so they don't police themselves well. If we actually had state agencies that will disbar people for what Binger did in that courtroom, you would have a whole lot more prosecutors who are doing the job correctly, who are actually seeking justice instead of politics, you know. And the same thing goes for the defense side. If they're being unethical, then they need to be punished as well. I think that's the issue. The issue is a lack of checks and balances in that courtroom. It has to be literally extraordinary before somebody was held accountable for what they did. We saw this guy Binger lying and withholding evidence, and nothing happened to him. There's nothing wrong with the system. We're just not policing the system well. Same thing goes for policing. Policing is such a difficult, nuanced job. There's nothing really wrong with policing. Modern policing is probably the best policing you can find in the world right now. The problem is properly policing the police, making sure that there are checks and balances, making sure that they're held accountable when they're corrupt, and they're too scared to be corrupt because the penalties are that big.
So I guess looking at it, I agree with what you're saying, and it reminds me of something that I learned in Divorce Corp, which is a documentary specifically about the family court system, and how basically it's like a weird game of musical chairs, that one week you might show up and the lawyer that you were up against might literally be the judge or a referee or something like that in the next case that you're in. You know, I had a friend when I was at Occupy who went through the trouble of going and becoming a lawyer, and then she never practiced. And I was like, why? You know, and she's like, well, you get into the courtroom and then you find out that, you know, the judge plays golf with your opponent, and it's like, well, never mind, you know. So in any case, Nathan, I wanted to ask you, what are you up to now, other than obviously the stuff we're not allowed to talk about? You know, is there anything new as far as like, are you thinking about trying to cover anything else, or like, what are you moving into next?
I'm actually in the almost the final steps of publishing a photo book of the nights from the shooting of Jacob Blake through the shooting with Kyle Rittenhouse. Those 3 nights, that I'm hoping to have that book out to the public in the next month and a half.
Sweet deal. Where can people go check it out?
That it's not released yet. I will be getting a website up very shortly with all the details, and I will link it to my social media, my Twitter.
Sweet deal. Sweet deal. Have you thought about trying to get similar quality photos at anything else going on in the world? Like, or does this situation kind of put you off of it?
I have thought about covering some of the other protests that have spurred up and popped up throughout the country. But there isn't nothing that I feel comfortable doing right now.
Yeah, I can't really blame you. It's unfortunate. I wish I could still do that kind of stuff. When I got my spinal injury and I got kids, and it's like, man, I'm not going around in a walker. If Antifa ever figured out who I was, they wouldn't be too happy with my presence, and I'd end up being the next Kyle Rittenhouse, and you'd have to turn in some pictures of me and tell the judge, you know, or tell the you know, the lawyer, hey man, you better say what you put down there, what I said, not what you said. Or what was the exact quote, the legendary quote?
How did I say it? Make sure you're saying what I'm saying.
Right. Exactly. Yep, for sure. Anybody in the chat, if you guys have any questions for our streamers, let me know before we close out tonight. And again, go ahead, Strategic.
Yeah, Neil, I just got something in my feed. A New York City EMT lieutenant, a female who's 60 years old, and they have rank structure in the EMTs, but she's just an emergency medical technician. She's not law enforcement. She was stabbed today, and I just want to let me just get her name real quick. I just want to, basically pay my respects or whatever, man. It's really, really sad.
Go for it.
That New York City is so terrible. So the young lady's name is Lieutenant Allison Russo Elling. For anybody who hate cops, just because it says lieutenant, she's not a police officer. She's just an EMT worker. I'll put it up on my camera. Let's see if my camera actually, there you go, zoom in on it. And she got stabbed today, just responding to a guy who was having a mental health crisis or whatever, and he stabbed her and she's dead now, and that's very sad. And just wanted to pay my respects, and that's it.
That is messed up. And so like you said, a paramedic, we still need to do that police activity stream, but
be careful, man. If I'm on your show, they might ban you.
Oh, I've had my own problems with them in the past. I keep coming back to the one police activity stream, or it wasn't a stream, it was a video, where this guy had OD'd, and so they gave him the Narcan or whatever to get him awake.
Yeah.
And so the cops and the EMTs, and there was a fireman there who actually it wasn't EMTs, like fireman, paramedic was present. And they're just desperately trying to convince this guy, you really got to go to the hospital, man. As soon as this stuff wears off, you could die. And they were so nice to him. And they kept saying, is it okay if I search you? They were so super polite. All the ways that these people in La La Land think that cops should talk to every criminal. And then I think 30 minutes into the video, he pulls out a pistol and starts firing, and he kills an innocent fireman.
Yeah.
And
I
shot.
that. Mm-hmm.
That one was just so messed.
It's like a Greyhound. They stopped the bus,
right?
He was saying erratic things. He sounded mentally unstable, but he was really high on meth, I believe it was. He was high on something. It's very sad, and that's why cops act the way they act. That's why today we had a situation where a father said that his son was feeling suicidal, and he had a shotgun in the house. And he comes, we're all stacked outside his door, being quiet. And as soon as he come out the door, there's 10 guns training on him, because when you try and, what's the odds he's going to come out with a gun? Let's see what's going on. That's when you lose your life. That's why cops are always so hyper vigilant, because we get trained watching those videos, and they tell us, look how nice those guys are. Look at the benefit of the doubt that those officers gave that man. And look, now I think one cop was shot and a firefighter was killed.
That's just messed up. I mean, it's kind of a thing where it's if anybody acted the way that they want, they did everything that supposedly activists want. Those police were extremely nice to that guy, and all it did was get somebody killed. And that comes back to, I think it would be great if you and GoodLawgic and if you could try, you should also think about trying to involve Neo Unrealist, because he lives in New York. But the crazy new laws that basically we're just going to let these people back out on the streets with no bail, and it was what direction is that going to head? I'm really worried about the future, because it's going to be a question of how long is it going to take before people figure out that's not going to work.
Yeah, so, I mean, Neil, the issue is that it's just like the thing we spoke about, where I said that the institution is fine. It's about enforcement. The same thing goes for bail reform. There is nothing wrong with bail reform, Neil. If I go into a store and I steal a pack of cigarettes, which I don't smoke, and it's my first offense, there's no reason why I should have a bail. I didn't do anything violent. This is my first theft. But when you make a law that says that I can go and steal that pack of cigarettes 50 freaking times, and each time I steal that cigarette, I'm going to get out with no bail, you know what that means? That means that I feel like there's no accountability for my actions, and I'm just going to keep stealing. That's the problem with bail reform. They made it as though it was children making it. You know, they put
Right.
no, you know, they put no limits on anything. So now we have situations where I pick a guy up for assaulting his wife and he's out the next day, you know, with no bail. And that's his 5th time assaulting her, you know, or guys are getting caught with guns. We're taking guys off the streets for guns and there's no bail. They're being released. Well, why did they have a gun in the first place? Because they're dangerous people and they were willing to use that gun to victimize the community. That's not taken into account. It's like, oh, gun, no big deal. Felon having a gun, no big deal. I believe in bail reform, but common sense bail reform. We should not have a system where we're locking people up for minor non-violent crimes, but we also should not have a system that allows them to do those crimes every day without repercussions. It's just insane. We just see, it seems like we can't get anything right, Neil. We can't get anything right. We either go too far left or we go too far right. We can never meet up in the middle and just really do some thoughtful reform on these issues.
So Nathan, I know this is not normally what you end up talking about, but it'd be cool if people could get to know some of your personal views. But like, would you say that being around in that riot, like, think about your perspective on crime and all that before you were up close and personal to that, and then after, when you look at people saying things like abolish the police or, you know, set, you know, no bail for people who are literally like attempted murderers or whatever, is it sobering for you, having been through what you've been through, to look at the insanity that some people want to see our criminal justice system to turn into?
Yes, I definitely don't agree with this no bond and stuff that's going on. I think it's crazy, especially for us in Kenosha, because we're on the border of Illinois. We're between 2 big cities, Chicago and Milwaukee. So you see a huge uptick in the violence and shootings lately, and it's sad.
And I don't understand how they think that it's going to get better by letting people back out on the street. It just doesn't make any sense. It's so backwards, but I mean, it's one of the things about society right now is like it's just turned crazy. And you know, I mean, you did a good job going over that one show. It was a Rising show or whatever, where they brought some lady in from Twitter. This is talking about you, Strategic. I think you covered this. I believe you did. Anyway, like Brianna Joy Gray, and then like you know, brings on a Rising show, and then like Robbie the Libertarian is sitting there, like he just keeps looking over, like, what am I? Why am I here? This is like an asylum.
It was like he was in the movie Get Out, like his brain was being sucked out or something, man. Like it was
like the moment. Well, they're just talking about a guy. I don't know if you're familiar with this story, Nate, but who had brutally beaten some, you know, Asian lady, caught on camera, and then goes to jail, and then they let him out.
An old lady and a young lady.
Oh, okay. And then he goes and beats up somebody in his subway. Wasn't it like the same day? Or was it? Yeah,
he beats up an African American subway worker who was defending a woman who he was harassing.
All in the name of social justice. And on that segment of Rising, you know, the lady in the middle that they had brought on, like, you know, Robbie's saying, well, we have to take these people off the street. And she's like, why? Like, shrugs, like, why? I'm like, you know, it's like when you talk to those people, it's this weird situation where their math, their equation does not include the people these people hurt.
Because they're not a part of that world, Neil. She lives in a doorman building in Midtown Manhattan. She doesn't have to worry about, you know, these crazy folks until she does, and then she'll change her opinion once it happens to her or her bestie.
Right.
That's right.
You know, and all the guys, you know, Ziminski, Grosskreutz, you know, every one of them. And I actually should have brought it up. I know they identified Jump Kick Man, and it turned out he was not exactly a nice person either. Did you read any of that stuff, Nathan? I didn't like do more follow up. Maybe you can share.
All I know is that they did identify him, referring to Jump Kick Man.
So somebody is asking. And the funny thing is that I happen to know that two of us actually are Bernie voters. I have no idea who Nathan votes for, but will the left win this info culture war? At least when it comes to this, I'm almost kind of the opinion that you get to a point that the left has gone so insane that it almost feels like this is going to help the right. It's not going to help the left. The people are not going to be more interested in voting for Democrats with this insanity. It almost feels sometimes like it's a psyop or something to get the left to just kill itself, because that's definitely the direction that it's headed. But in any case, no bond should only be for minor crimes. And I can agree to that. If it's non-violent offenses, for example, like if a kid got caught with a bag of weed, I don't, fine, don't, incarcerate him. But when you get repeat criminal violent offenders who just keep getting out over and over and over again, you just it's clown world. Like, what the hell is going on here? So I want to thank you guys for coming on tonight. And Nathan, again, I'm sorry. Just want to be clear. I was not trying to put you on the spot. That was so long ago. I would have figured they'd have gotten you straighted away, and I didn't know it was still going on. So I feel dumb because I didn't follow up.
Yes,
on it.
It has been postponed. I actually don't even have a date currently, and that's due to the judge being out on medical leave.
Is it going to be Judge Schroeder again, or?
Yes, he is out on medical leave right now.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, no, I was just going to say, if you got him, that's worth waiting for, honestly. I think he understands the situation better than anybody, and I'm sure he'd love to have him in his courtroom. So I guess just keep us in touch. I'm embarrassed that even came up, because I did not want you to do anything in any way. I literally thought, wow, that has to be over by now, right?
You would think, yeah, but it is not. And I don't even have a date set for the trial anymore.
A poor horse abused by Sank Super Chat here. Have some useless currency. I have no idea what that is, but thank you very much. What the hell is a something? I don't know.
You said what? Abused by Cenk? Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Okay. That's like what?
Some kind of money or something. I have no
idea. Australian currency?
No.
Is that what it is? No.
But no, I haven't seen you in a while. Poor horse abused by Cenk. The name that's always fun.
That's his name.
That's his name. Yeah. No, and then look, there's the horse. Right. So.
But Cenk is conservative now. He's against bail reform. Remember?
Right. Oh, yeah. That's been really crazy to watch New York Times. The Young Turks argue with other leftists about something like this. I mean,
they had some lunatic lady on. She was like a DA from Brooklyn or something. She was insane, bro.
Oh my goodness. I remember her. She was like, she had like braids, I think.
Yeah, she was bananas, man. She like literally wants all the bad guys to go free. This is insane, man. To be honest with you, I know you're about to wrap it up, but I think that everything is imploding right now. All these social movements are imploding. We're just too caught up with what's happening with the economy to really pay attention to it, but it's really breaking down at the seams. Like bail reform is breaking down. Like the approval ratings are through the toilet. All right. We have one guy his name is Pedro Hernandez, who was like the poster child for bail reform in New York. Right. He kept getting off of gun charges. He was in jail. He was 17 years old. They're like, oh, he didn't do it. He's innocent. The DA dropped the gun charge against him. And the DA said, listen, man, I think this guy did it, but we're dropping the charges. It's up to him to change his life. That's what the DA said 4 years ago when he was 17 years old. Now this same guy is arrested for attempted murder for shooting at people in Midtown Manhattan, right next to St. Patrick's Cathedral, like one of the biggest tourist areas in New York. This guy's trying to kill people. Like, these are the people who are benefiting from bail reform. The worst of the worst. And people are starting to realize that. They're starting to realize that BLM is a sham. They're trying to realize that bail reform is trash. There's going to be a reckoning in the polls, people. There's going to be a reckoning. And the problem is, people like me, I'm not conservative. You guys know, everyone who watches my channel, I got a lot of strategic eyes people in the chat. I'm a centrist slash Democrat. Not Democrat slash liberal.
Mm-hmm.
We're the ones who are going to hurt because this country is going to go far right because people are tired. They're tired of the nonsense of these delusional libtards. They're so delusional. Liberal people insult them, and we're supposed to have the same ideals.
$50 super chat, a new record on V Radio from Steel Stargazer.
Wow, it's awesome.
I just wanted to thank all of your guests and you for keeping us informed and waking many people up with facts and opinions that really matter. Thank you. You can interact with Steel Stargazer on the V Radio Discord, also known as Mountain Goddess. And she's a goddess now, my goddess of the $50 bill.
She making it rain. You need some sound effects, Neil. Let me help you out.
Okay.
All right.
Strategic back again.
Yeah, baby. I haven't done it in a while, man.
Well, I'll tell you what, while you're banned, man, it sounded like you have a lot more to say. I just, because of the fact that I don't want to put Nate in a situation where he's just going to sit here, you and I talk, feel free if you want to bust in, Nate. And I know I told you didn't have to be on all night. So if you need to go, it's totally fine. But otherwise, it's great. It's always great having you on, Nathan. And just please keep us informed about what's going on. I remember once didn't you say you were going to the hospital something a while ago? I'm like, what the hell is that? Did you please tell me what that was about?
Yeah, I was having some major chest pains.
Oh, okay. And you're obviously fine now, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
That's awesome. That's
So
awesome.
was it just bad choices like jalapenos for dinner or something, or?
It was a mixture of things.
All right. Well, take care of yourself, man. We need you.
Definitely. I'll stay in touch with this book coming up, this photo book coming up, and I am in the works of also trying to move out of Wisconsin. So hopefully within this coming up year, I'll be able to make it out. And I do have a place set in my mind, but I am going to keep that private.
No, well, don't tell me where you're going. I'm glad that you're getting out of that situation, but by no means. But either way, even when you move away from Wisconsin, you won't be too good for us.
Nope.
Make sure you remember us, man. And I want to thank you for being a guest on my show. And you and Grambo did pretty early on, and I, when all of that stuff went on, like all that many of us even wanted, like the internet sleuths who put together all those videos and stuff to get Kyle off, was just, hey, could you come on our show? Like, that's literally all I wanted. I don't want any of your money. I in fact, for the first year of that whole thing, people were like, hey, where can we donate? Where can we donate? Your videos are so important. I'm like, nah. Just give it to Kyle's Defense Fund. I stayed away from that. But you and like Grambo, I remember getting her. That was fun because at that
Grambo's
point,
always fun to have on a show.
She is, and she wanted to come on tonight. She just says to go somewhere, but Fox wanted her, MSNBC wanted her. All these major media companies are contacting her, and they could not get her. She ended up coming to V Radio. And what's messed up about that is that I tried to get an ad for that, and Google denied my ad, and I was like, why? And they're like, shocking content. I'm like, what? So I talked to a nice lady for an hour and a half. Like, I didn't play any videos. It was just me and her talking about things that were happening, and that was shocking content. But you guys can still find my first Grambo interview on my channel, and she's great. And she's also interested in just coming on and being a panelist to talk about general world events. So we will definitely see more of her going forward. And then, so Nate, one last time, is there anywhere people can go to check out your stuff?
Photosbynated.com. If you want to check out some of my work, I do still have GiveSendGo up for some of the costs to help me move, because I am also still in a lot of therapy, EMDR therapy, my regular therapy. So there's medical bills still attached to that, and or there's a Cash App out there for me. It's the little $ in PhotoChad. That's another way I can send it to you in the private comments.
You can throw it up in my in my chat, man. You should be allowed to. If not, let me just go ahead and let's grab it, and then I'll copy it to make absolutely sure that this goes everywhere. There we go. 1 second. All right, everybody, make it rain for Photo Chad. This guy put his life in jeopardy to bring us the truth in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, and when a lot of people were too scared to say it, he did. And in fact, did a fantastic job of staring down, DAs that were trying to bully him. And that's honestly what made him a legend and apparently a big hit with the ladies. There were so many girls who wanted you, dude. I was like, wow.
I met a lot of people out of this. I made a lot of pretty good personal friends out of this, and I'm just very grateful for all the support that I've received. It hasn't always been easy just because I post something funny or a nice picture online. There's many days that I still struggle, and I just appreciate everyone from the bottom of my heart that supported me from day one, and those friends that I don't get to mention all the time or at all. I just want to thank you. It's not that I haven't forgot. It's just have so much on my mind. So I just want to thank everyone again for all your support.
No problem, man. You got 1 million fans in this situation. I hope that, that at least gives you some comfort when you go through these troubled times, is that a lot of people really appreciate what you did. So
yes, and I just can't wait for the Ziminski trial to be over with. If I never have to see Binger again in my life, I
can't wait for it either, because then I could talk to my friend about what happened. That'll be great. I feel so dumb that I really thought that it must be over by now. What it is I pulled back from Rittenhouse stuff just a little bit to concentrate on some other things. And so I didn't follow it all the way to the end. And normally Kevin Matheson is kind of my source on that stuff. And I was trying to get him on, but he's been too busy.
Yes,
so in fact,
I've been trying to meet up with him myself. We're in the same city, but our schedules haven't aligned. So we're able to do that.
All right. Well, again, Nate, you're free to stick with us if you want. I just didn't want to keep you beyond the part where we were talking about the topics that I told you we were going to be talking about.
Definitely. I am going to head out. Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure meeting you. And a pleasure being back on your show. And I hope to be able to chat with you very shortly about a lot of the upcoming things that have been going on in my life.
Awesome. And when the Ziminski trial is over, can I get an exclusive interview?
Yes. Yes, you can.
Thanks, Nathan.
You're welcome. You guys have a great night. God bless you both.
Have a good night, man.
Awesome. So Johnny Walker Dread is in the chat. Johnny, if you want to join us, let me know. I'll be happy to send you the StreamYard. I feel like Strategic has been muzzled, and I don't appreciate that.
No. It's all good. I actually got to go probably like 20, 30 minutes. I'll head out too.
Okay.
I work all day, you know what I mean? Too. My limit, I know you go like 3-4 hours. My limit is like a 2-hour show.
Right.
2 hours, and then I start fading like crazy. But I appreciate it, man. I've been in YouTube jail, man. But I've actually, to be honest with you, V, I've taken this opportunity to do some reflection on my YouTube journey. I'm actually not mad that I've been banned for 2 weeks, because when you're not banned, you kind of have an obligation to your viewers to keep pushing out content, and that doesn't give you time to actually change, to actually grow, because you just keep trying to push out what the viewers are accustomed to. You stay in the same lane. So I think when I come out of this, like right now, I'm studying Adobe Premiere, how to edit and all that stuff. I want to start doing something that's a real big passion of mine. And I've been doing it on the show, but not as much. I want to start doing real true crime, like documentary form true crime. So that's something that my viewers are going to start seeing. And I think I'm going to probably give like one live a week where we talk about the typical Strategic Eyes things. And then I'm going to be focusing more on true crime, police walkthroughs, but in a much more professional and polished manner. That's my goal for the channel. So I'm actually grateful for this hiatus.
Yeah, and I also I started making less content recently. Some of it is just that I've been in and out of the hospital a lot, not just for me, but for my daughter. And then my son also got injured, and his wrestling season's right around the corner. Nothing serious, but it's something that takes up time, and then like
Right.
but it's between that and the fact that I also had to try to find other ways to make a little money just because I'm disabled and I can't do normal work.
Mhm.
So that took up a lot of my time too. But it's also just a question of like trying to find the kind of like, as I want the content to be energetic and good. I want it to, and that requires that I'm in the right mindset. But that's another thing I've noticed. And I just read an article about this, that the studies are showing that post-COVID effects on your brain are actually pretty bad. And I get the brain fog sometimes. I already had ADHD kind of stuff and short-term memory loss kind of problems. But by the way, Johnny, I sent that to your Twitter. But anyway, so when I end up in a situation like that, I want to be totally mentally clear before I put out my stuff. And I'm very careful about making sure that I've researched everything really heavily. I know like Adam Friended finally got tired of me teasing him about the Iraq War thing, and he wanted me to come debate with him and him and Sitch again on the Iraq War. And I just, it's like, I have no problem having that conversation, but I need to be prepared and have all my ducks in a row because they're going to gang up on me. But you read that. You were actually, you were in rare form. Like, why are you talking to these idiots? Really, it was like,
yeah, man.
I couldn't believe that anybody had that position. That was just nuts.
Yeah,
dude.
that was retarded. Like as a YouTuber, we're both YouTubers, of course. Like the worst thing that we want, I don't want to speak for you, but I think you'll agree with me, is for somebody to typecast us, figure us out, think they understand our entire ideology and worldview from one video.
Right.
But when you say something so outlandish that defies history, defies facts,
right,
defies conventional knowledge, it's like, how can I have faith in anything else you say? And I had a ton of people say, Strategic, I agree with you. These guys are wrong on this point, but if you watch their show, they're mostly right and they're really good guys. So I think that might actually be the truth, but they might end up being outliers, that they could possibly have the position that they had when they debated you, but actually be nice guys who are mostly right, because they were so off base. It was unbelievable.
That was what made it so weird for me. It was like, and some other guy interpreted it as me being backed into a corner or something because I hesitated a moment. I'm like, no, I'm hesitating more because I'm like sitting there with my eyes furrowed, like, what? Right. Like, these are people that I listen to their streams for hours, and I'm like, this is the most absurd, ridiculous take I've ever seen. So here we have the Johnny Walker Dread, minus his beautiful backgrounds and cowboy hat.
Hey, is my microphone sounding okay? If not, I'll grab my other one.
No, you sound fine, man. Hello out there. He is trying to get through. So
yeah, the internet's being, I use an Ethernet. My internet's being used by my significant other tonight, so I'm stuck in a different room, so I can't turn on my
all your cool stuff,
video camera.
Yeah, your production's always.
How you doing, Strategic?
What's happening, Johnny? How are you?
Oh, been doing all right. It's been hectic as hell buying a new home, and I hate it. I cannot stand house shopping.
Everybody hates that process, man. It sucks.
Man.
Well, then it's like trying to buy a car. There's inevitably somebody's trying to screw you in some way, and you gotta hope that anybody that you paid to inspect it is not is doing their job. It just and if you get caught holding the bag, man, that sucks. You find out, oh great, I didn't know we had termites.
When I go and buy a car, I'm usually going and buying it myself. I'm not joined by somebody else. That's the difference.
So what have you been working on lately, Johnny?
Haven't really been posting a lot lately. Just been pretty busy with work. It's been a really busy time. So I'm going to try to get back into the groove soon. But I think my last couple of videos are about Kyle. Mostly I have another Loco lawyer episode. One of the lawyers weighing in on the Kyle Rittenhouse case makes an absolute fool of himself. And then I kind of picked that one apart. But been trying to get a little bit more work done on my book on Kyle Rittenhouse, but a little slow there.
Yeah, there's some Twitter account saying Kyle Rittenhouse book. Like they're I guess some dude from England's writing a
Yeah,
book
it's
about it.
Duncan Oldham.
Yeah. So now you're writing one too. That's pretty sweet. With me, somebody saying I'm new to your channel. V Radio, is your channel exclusively anti-left wing? No. So let me take a moment and explain that. I am actually left leaning on a lot of things. I am totally pro-gun, 100%. Okay, shall not be infringed. Let me see what else. I lean kind of pro-life-ish. Like I'm not really big on trying to make laws about it necessarily, but I totally get that perspective. I just choose not to get intimate with people that I think would abort a baby we might have. That's my answer to it. But like these are things that normally just get you completely disqualified from saying you're left anything, right? And I'm way anti-woke. And my reasons for being anti-woke is just I was literally a leftist on the ground activist at Occupy Wall Street. And when it started, we were the unified 99%. We were people of all races and colors and creeds. And, nobody cared what your freaking gender identity was. Nobody cared about any of that. It wasn't relevant because we were the unified 99%. And then I just watched as wokeness showed up. And then suddenly we were the 13% or the 22% of, and then it was this new fight for the new hierarchy, which is, well, how do I get to the top of the new hierarchy? Well, the new hierarchy is if I could be, say, black, bisexual, transsexual, like, how many of these, oppressed groups could I put together? And then that means I'm more important than you because I have all of these groups. And the thing that bothered me is I want to be sure marginalized people talk and, and speak and everything and get forward and get their points out, obviously. But they would also kind of expect you that if somebody who is higher up, quote unquote, higher up in the oppression hierarchy said something absolutely ridiculous, you're just supposed to go along with it because you're a straight white male. And I'm like, nah, not on board. You just said something dumb. I'm not going with that. But more to the point, it just made us ineffective and stupid. And then, it totally ruined, where the left was going. And we had a lot of momentum back then. But as somebody recently pointed out, because it was talked about on Joe Rogan, the left had Occupy and the right had the Tea Party. And I remember distinctly Congressman Ron Paul saying to the Tea Party, hey, you guys need to go reach out to Occupy Wall Street because we have common opponents. And shortly thereafterwards, everything falls apart because obviously the conservatives are definitely not going to get on board with the woke stuff. So, and Strategic wants us to know that he likes bacon.
So I like bacon because Lucifer likes bacon.
well, yeah, but Lucifer's a dog, so of course he likes bacon. What dog does not like bacon?
A Canadian dog.
Right. So this person says, you sound similar to me. I was an Occupy Wall Street lefty, but now I've swayed more to being a social conservative and political libertarian. I'm libertarian in a lot of things. So it's like my position on the trans stuff, for example, is if it's victimless, I don't, whatever, I'll call you whatever pronoun. I don't care about any of that. It's when you get into a situation when you think that your identity means that you should be allowed to take things away from other people that it becomes a problem. And, but anyway, so, but I hope that said, yeah, whatever. Thank you. And welcome to the show. But yeah, it's not all anti-left. I'm very careful because I honestly feel that right now, left versus right is just not as important as truth versus lies. It's not as important as thinking versus not. And the reality is, like I mentioned at the earlier, I don't think you were on Strategic, but I did a poll of my viewership and I had 17% MAGA Republicans, 43% third party or independent conservatives, 34%, independent left-leaning, third party, and then very, very few actual Republicans or Democrats. It was like tiny percentages, So I like it that way. And somehow in my Discord, just like in Strategic's Discord, People don't agree with things all the time, but somehow they manage to conduct themselves like human beings and talk to each other. And, you know, that can be done. And that to me is my goal, is that, you know, like if you look at my artwork, you see that I'm holding up a severed head of a Republican Party symbol and a Democrat Party symbol, that I feel that we need to get past these kinds of stupid, you know, duopolies and be able to just be people. You know, like I should be allowed to be pro-gun and pro, say, welfare if I want to be, you know. Sakhan, super chat for $10. Great guest tonight. Sometime I forget you guys are normal people with jobs and families. I'm so used to the hyper online gamers. It's nice to know that people like you guys fight this fight. Well, yeah, you know, and I tell people that all the time. I guess you see more of the regular side of things when you're streaming, because we're just kind of talking. You know, it's not as like perfect. Like, you know, strategic. You always say you like my documentaries, really. You know, like, but it's all measured. I don't script things. I don't write them down. But I will re-record something. If I listen to it, I go, nah, that was crap. So Johnny, just to anybody who's not familiar with you, why don't you tell them about your channel?
Yeah, I started out about a little over 2 years ago. I was going to do a channel that was dedicated to basically police brutality, but, you know, kind of exposing the truth and providing some perspective about police brutality. For example, the myth that it only happens to Black people, right? And so I was posting a lot of videos at showing that, you know, police make mistakes, and they don't make mistakes that benefit or harm any one particular class or race over another. They're human and they screw up just like we do. And that's the way it was going to start. I did a few videos and had like 5 subscribers. And then the Kyle Rittenhouse thing started up. And to make a long story short, when I saw him crying in the police station, that was the first time I realized that, you know, here's somebody out there that needs a voice. Because at that time I had kind of figured out actually what had happened. I was under the same myths that a lot of people were under for quite a while. And I decided, well, I'm just going to reorient my show towards, you know, exposing the truth on that particular incident. I ended up with 300 videos on the Kyle Rittenhouse saga. I have like 500 total. So I've dived deep and hard into pretty much everything, but I've also done a lot of other videos and stuff. I just did one on the police that left the girl in the back of the car on the train tracks. Strategic, are you familiar with that one?
Yeah, that was. I mean, they turned a road rager. They're arresting her for road rage into a millionaire.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Terrible policing, terrible tactics. I damn near say almost criminal. Certainly administrative termination. As a former internal investigator, you guys know I wear a lot of hats in my life. Mm-hmm. I would definitely say you're getting to like a negligence, like, you know, but oh man, keep going. I'm sorry, bro. That was just horrible.
Yeah, my take on it was more to be humorous about it, because she didn't die, but she got busted up enough to where, man, I'm not certain that was really in good taste, you know, because, you know, if she had died, obviously I would not have done that show, but she got hurt pretty bad in that, and I'm starting to feel kind of bad about what I said.
But think about what you saw, man. I mean, not in reference to you making light of it. I'm just talking in general. Mm-hmm. You put her on the tracks. She's cuffed up. She hears the train coming before them. They actually had time to remove her from the car. They bailed on her.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then her testimony while she was in the hospital, that she heard that she was trying to find a way to get out of the police car, but you can't. Mm-hmm. She's handcuffed. She's screaming for help. That must have been horrendous.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine. But I would say if I was going to characterize my channel, it would be whenever I see social media, especially just making really bad assumptions and bad logic about some incident, I tend to jump on it. And almost always
Kyle
it's against the left.
Didn't shoot Black people.
Oh yeah, don't get me started.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, and that's the thing about it, was that I have 300 videos because there were so many misconceptions and myths and falsehoods that went out, I don't think I know of an incident, a criminal case that has evoked so much falsehood as that one. It's just, I mean, I have a dumb argument series where I expose a dumb argument about the trial, and it's up over 80 now. So that should give you an idea about how ridiculous the reporting of that was.
So super chat from D5280. I guess, what is that, your stormtrooper designation or something? I don't know. Anyway, for $2, great content, truth content. And everybody that's been on the stream tonight, folks, fits into that category. If you have not checked out Strategic Eyes or Johnny Walker Dread, or obviously GoodLawgic, I also have, their channels are all featured on my channel, but GoodLawgic, I don't know if I've gotten around to putting him on there yet. But you should check them out. You guys, if you like my stuff, would also like Neo Unrealist. He's a New Yorker, and he was a YouTuber right at the end of the time period where it was a little easier to get subscribers. So he's got like 30K, and then he's been stuck there now for like the last 6 years. That guy can have Sargon of Akkad on his show, and his subscriber list doesn't go up. You know, like, he's so screwed by the algorithm. But a lot of great down-to-earth content with that guy too. You know, and obviously Logical Checkmate, our favorite Czech Republic individual who I met through you, Johnny, you know, does great work, kind of providing a European context on things. You know, so in any case, Strategic, you know, I'd like to reach out to you about being on a couple more times during your, you know, your outing. And if you see anything that you want to talk about, just let me know, because I don't want to call it writer's block. It's more just, there's a few things that I'm researching that I'm looking to try to get really nailed down. Like, I want to nail down completely the connection between Weather Underground terrorists and the violent movements that we've just had. And I think I've got enough, but I don't feel quite satisfied. It's like I wish I had a smoking gun. You know, I'm also working on, you know, I got a few irons in the fire. I got to do another reply to Sitch and Adam because of their argument with me about apparently in their world, campaign finance has nothing to do with who gets elected president. It's like,
oh my God.
Right, I know. Like, what are you talking about? You know, and I said, so does the entire history of our society, you know, of our species, that shows that people who have more money tend to win the election? He's like, well, correlation doesn't equate to causation. I'm like, what is that about? You know, anyway, so I got to do that. And there's a few other things I'm working on. If there's anything you guys want me to do, by all means, you know, let me know in my Discord. I'm extremely active on my Discord. And I want to say, guys, that's always going to be the case if I have my way. One of the things that bothers me the most about some of the bigger streamers is that they disconnect from their audience, and I'm not like that. You know, I always, for example, if you leave comments, I respond to your comments. I talk to people sometimes for a long time, and to that, we're unusual for doing that. You know, like, to me, it's like, you know, I remember, for example, Shoe on Head. I like her content, but she has a Discord that you have to be a patron to join. Then come to find out, you know, she'll literally say at the end of her stream, and I'll be on my Discord when I'm done here, you know, this is how you join it. And then she's not there. So she's got your money, and then she just never shows up. It's like, oh, okay, that's neat. You know, but that kind of crap is never going to happen. It's never my intention to do that. If I get to a point where things are really huge, yes, it'll be a little harder to answer people, but I don't know if that'll ever happen with our current algorithm. $5 super chat from Lucifer the Doberman says, I will send bacon to any one of you boys. Hit me up in Discord with a mailing address. So you want the bacon? Lucifer's bringing home the bacon. Or sending home the bacon.
Yeah, I got a Weather Underground story for you. Go
for it.
Yeah, I was at a conference, and Bill Ayers was the guest speaker. He was and he was former head of the Weather Underground. This is a terrorist group, and at the end, everybody stood up and gave him a standing ovation. These are educators. Everybody in that room was either a superintendent or somebody higher up in the education department. And of course, I had to stand up as part of it because I'm a vendor. And the last thing I wanted to do was to be sitting there while everybody else is standing up and having to explain to them why I didn't stand up for their anointed leader. But yeah, Bill Ayers, he was a personal friend of Arnie Duncan, who was the former Secretary of Education. The education department actually gave him a standing ovation. They think he's an absolutely standout guy. There you go.
That's just so messed up. And people have forgotten about it, but their rhetoric sounds exactly like current Antifa and the violent parts of BLM's rhetoric. And their imagery, the fist imagery that BLM uses, literally is Brother Underground's imagery. That was why I was like, wait a second here. And then you look into it and you find out these people are on boards of directors of organizations that fund BLM. And then, I don't know if I told you about this strategic, but like there was this DA in San Francisco who was just letting everybody back out on the street all the time. He finally got recalled, and it turns out his parents are both Weather Underground terrorists.
Really?
How do you get elected DA with terrorist parents? But like you said, nobody treats them like that. Go ahead, Johnny.
That's one of the things that really bothers me the most is when people say, and I come from the conservative side of things, although I'm not a Trumper, but when they say that, we conservatives we really like our criminals. I mean, you have got to be kidding me.
Right.
There is, a person who was given tenured professorship at, no, it wasn't Harvard. It was one of the Ivy League schools. She had murdered her kid when she was young. He was like 8 years old, and then hid his body and never did point the police to where he was buried. And yet later on, after she served her prison sentence, they let her become a tenured professor. And so, yeah, the left loves its criminals too. And I know that you kind of hang out more on the left-hand side there, Neil, but I'm just trying to say that one side is not more pro-criminal than the other in this respect.
No, you're not wrong. It's just the thing that's annoying people like me in strategic is that it should not be a requirement that we go along with that nonsense and still be labeled like I just had a panel of longtime leftists who were like, what the hell is going on? Like, no, you're not wrong. That's why so much of my content is about calling it out. Because like, if you remember what I've always said is that, okay, fine. So Black Lives Matter says they don't advocate for violence. When are you going to call it out? Because in Occupy, anytime somebody did something that we did not agree with, we would literally do a press conference. Like we would immediately state, that wasn't us. We're not into violent activism. That has nothing to do with us. Nobody does that anymore. People are just free to do whatever kind of screwed up activism they want. Nobody says a damn thing. And if you happen to be white, you're going to be told, you can't tell us how to protest. Because that makes sense. Obviously, that was the kind of logic I was talking about. Is like, I would ask them things like, do you want to be effective? Like, is that your goal? And then unfortunately, it just kind of became clear it's not. They're all playing some kind of weird game, of making themselves feel good. Like that's what their activism is about. It's not about being effective. So I think the last thing I'll do with you guys is play a very brief clip of John Cleese explaining that. But before I do, strategic, where can people see your stuff when it's actually available again, although it's still up, right?
Yeah, my channel's still up. I've got over 1,000 videos. You can go over to the Strategic Guys show, check it out. I also have a backup channel called Strategic Guys After Dark show. When I'm done with my hiatus, my punishment, my jail sentence, which would be sometime in mid-October, or maybe I guess like I've been suspended for like 2-3 days now, so 11 days from now, something to that effect. I'll be back. I'll be streaming. I'll definitely send out notifications. Just go ahead and subscribe. You can definitely subscribe. It's not a big deal. YouTube is not stopping people from subscribing. We're actually a little bit under 200 subscribers to go to get to 7,000. So we're moving. We're growing. And like I said to you before, I will be doing more true crime. I'll still be talking about social things. I'll still be calling out the insanity that we see happening from this activist culture, but I will be doing something that's a passion to me, which is doing true crime And I also try and be a little bit more careful so I don't get in trouble with YouTube again.
That's just so stupid. I just okay. Question from the chat: do you guys think we'll look back on the 10s and 20s as the social justice era, similar to how we look back on the 50s and 60s? You know, one of my longtime viewers told me to go back and watch this documentary that was specifically about the Dirty Harry films, and it was because they talked a little bit about the social climate at the time. And the point that the lady who sent me the link was trying to make was like, it seems like this stuff is on a cycle. So I'm hoping that all this insanity is on a cycle. But what concerns me is that there are certain changes in our society right now that it's kind of hard to put the genie back in the bottle. That was one of the other things I'm researching is about child rearing, you know, and discipline is a real hot button issue. And I'm concerned that we're being pushed in a certain direction on how to raise our kids by people who are using very shoddy science to try to make their arguments. But just like with the trans stuff that somehow just keeps getting forced through, even though the science has already been proven to be shoddy, it's just kind of getting ramrodded through. And then we're making policy based on it. It's going to be something that's going to be a bit harder to change. I think what would be different is that in the 60s, when extremism got way out of control, it eventually kind of got dialed back. And I'm concerned about whether or not that will happen this time. I do believe that eventually the page is going to turn on the trans stuff because it's just too obviously wrong. There's too many things there that are just blatantly wrong. And I think that what's going to happen is like, I know a trans person right now, a friend of mine who's dying of cancer. Like, the long-term consequences of using a lot of this stuff is still to be decided. But, you know, it may not even be in our lifetimes that they finally get around to going, man, did we ever screw that up? But before I move on, Strategic, did you have anything about this that you wanted to say? And then I'll ask you too, Johnny.
Yeah, you know, I kind of agree with the latter part of your statement. I don't think that the activists now are going to have the same impact that they had in the 60s, the 50s and 60s. They were actually fighting for something concrete, something that was obvious. Like now it's like most of their arguments are platitudes and most of their facts aren't really facts. And people, it's not that hard for people to debunk that what they're saying is not true. So saying that, you know, the police are massacring black people. Well, if you just look at any fact pattern, you look at any website that tracks this data, you look at the federal government's websites, you know that's not true. It doesn't happen. You know, I think like the era of Martin Luther King and those guys is over. You know,
and it's really unfortunate.
And yeah, and the people who are the leaders of today, we're finding out every single day that they're corrupt, and we're getting evidence of it. You know, so the Patrisse Cullors, they're not going to endure. They've already been discredited. Okay, all it takes is a change in administration, and we could possibly see these folks going to jail. To be real,
right?
You know, so and if you look at it as well, none of these people are transformational type leaders. None of them, their leadership doesn't, you know, extend beyond their core believers. You know, the people who are their sheep. So Martin Luther King, he was actually changing people's minds. All right. He was literally reaching people who were racist. He was actually changing their opinions on black folks. Like nobody listens to Patrisse Cullors except for people who've already been brainwashed to believe everything that comes out of her mouth. You know, even like activists speak. I don't mean to go on and on, but like I hate the way activists speak.
Go ahead,
now.
Dude.
You know, they're like, oh, you know, right, you know, like, like, what the hell are you talking about, man? I hate you. But anyway, the bottom line is, I totally agree that, you know, eventually we're going to get a great reset. It's going to come because people are tired. Just like how we see the reset coming with the whole C-19 situation where not even the government is pushing back like, oh, okay, we can't keep doing this. Oh, it's over. You know, you guys don't need to have masks. You don't need to do this. You don't need to do that. We start seeing whistleblowers coming out from all these different agencies saying, oh, you know, the science that we gave you was incorrect. We're going to experience a great reset. I don't know how broad that reset is going to be when it comes to the social issues, but it's going to happen. And none of these people are enduring leaders. They're clear frauds. They're clear grifters, and history will recognize them for who they really are.
Johnny, did you want to comment on this?
Yeah, let me start off with the trans thing. I think what really bothers me the most about it is that back in the day, and I hate saying that because it makes me do sound old, but back in the day, you encountered struggle, and you had to fight your way through it, and it made you stronger. Yes, you had, you broke up with your girlfriend and you were devastated. I mean, and it took weeks to get over it. But that was sort of the rite of passages of becoming an adult. Now, parents cannot bear the thought of their kids enduring any kind of hardship. So when they have problems with, let me put it this way, when their kids are having emotional problems, they think there must be something out there that can solve the problem for them. And a lot of the times they're blaming the gender thing. So if a kid is confused or whatever, is, having very typical normal problems, they want to fix it because they can't bear to see their kids suffer. And so they're undergoing these surgeries and stuff. This is really, really going to work out badly, in my opinion. You sometimes just have to persevere. And a lot of the kids now in the new generation cannot persevere because they have been, let's say, coddled their entire lives by parents who are essentially out to try to solve all their problems for them. And you can't. And back in the day when we had tomboys, girls that did very boyish things and didn't fit the stereotype, they were always considered a little bit odd. But, ultimately in the end, they usually grew up to be normal adults. Now they're undergoing surgeries, and I have yet to see one yet that turned out to be somebody who was happy. They seem to be bitter and upset about something all the time. Well, I thought that this was supposed to take care of that problem for them, but it's not. It's just disguising, in my opinion, emotional problems that can often border on mental health disease. So we'll see 10, 20 years from now what's going to become of these kids. And I don't think it's going to be very good.
Well, and worse. Oh, go ahead and finish.
No, go ahead. I
was going to say what else that bothers me is that those people are now raising their own kids. And like, that's one of the things I'm going to get into about my child rearing thing is like, look, it's not like it all has to be spanking. I'm not getting into that, but like there's a new article every week. It's like, now I've read articles that are no yelling. I've read articles that are no timeouts. I've read articles that are, now we've got dingbats at college campuses saying we should also just have no punishment. And I'm just like, that doesn't even work. Like, it's not abolish the police. It's like abolish the parents. And honestly, that is what a lot of these people seem to want. They don't want us to be able to parent. And the problem is like, I looked at some of the science about that. And one of the most commonly used, for example, anti-spanking studies took data from kids who were paddled, like, not brutally beaten, and then took data from kids who were brutally beaten, and then stuck the data together and said, see, all spanking leads to more crime and more, mental illness. I mean, like, you could not get away with that in any other science. If you tried to do that in like engineering or something, it's like, we're going to talk about the tensile strength of metal, and then took tinfoil and put it in the same data set as titanium, you would be laughed out of, like, nobody would ever tolerate that. But they were allowed to get away with that. And it's not just about spanking, but like they say things like yelling and all that. And like, well, it causes distress in the brain or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but the whole point of it was supposed to be that you're simulating consequences, because when these kids get older, real life isn't just going to yell at them. Real life is going to fire them. Real life is going to send them to jail. Real life is going to do horrible things to them. So if they don't have any apprehension whatsoever, about doing bad things, which is what seems to be the case. So many of these kids, like Strategic, you just covered a video the other day about that kid who just like, he was like on another planet. Like he just thought he could just ignore the cop. He was just going to sit there on the bench and pretend the cop was not talking to him. Like in his world, he was above the law, and that's what happens when you raise a kid like that. and then real life comes crashing down on them. And then the other studies that I looked at, there was a study in Psychology Today that talked about the fact that now those kids then go to college, and despite all these things that we were told we were supposed to do to make them better, they have more mental illness, they have more anxiety, they have more problems and less resilience, no coping skills. And then the funny thing is when they finally do get around to admitting that their generation is a problem, well, who do they blame it on? They turn it right back on us. It's like, well, you're the bad parents. And I'm like, well, let me make this clear. We were forced to change the way we parented because quote unquote experts told us to. And if you didn't go along with it, they'll take your kids, so and they don't want us to go back to doing the things that would have been necessary to set them straight. Like none of these people that are blaming their parents are saying, okay, well, let's go back to spanking. Let's go back to yelling. Let's go back. They don't want any punishment, but they still want to be able to blame us anyway,
Right.
And anyway, so that's a good segue for the video I was going to play. And then we'll talk just a tiny bit more about it. And then we'll go from there. So the funny thing is this video was made a long time ago, and it's strangely still completely applicable. If anything, this problem that he's describing has gotten worse.
When we come back,
Oh, go ahead.
When we come back, I gotta get out of here. I got work tomorrow, but I want to just make a quick point when we're done with this.
Sure,
video.
go ahead.
Oh, you can
We've
play
heard-
the video. Mhm.
All right.
A lot about extremism recently, a nastier, harsher atmosphere everywhere, more abuse and bother boy behavior, less friendliness and tolerance and respect for opponents. All right, but what we never hear about extremism is its advantages. Well, the biggest advantage of extremism is that it makes you feel good because it provides you with enemies. Let me explain. The great thing about having enemies is that you can pretend that all the badness in the whole world is in your enemies and all the goodness in the whole world is in you. Attractive, isn't it? So if you have a lot of anger and resentment in you anyway, and you therefore enjoy abusing people, then you can pretend that you're only doing it because these enemies of yours are such very bad persons. And that if it wasn't for them, you'd actually be good-natured and courteous and rational all the time. But become an extremist. Okay, now you have a choice. If you join the hard left, they'll give you their list of authorized enemies. Almost all kinds of authority, especially the police, the city, Americans, judges, multinational corporations, public schools, furriers, newspaper owners, fox hunters, generals, class traitors, and, of course, moderates. Or, if you'd rather be an extremist on the hard right, no problem, fine, you still get a lovely list of enemies, only they're different ones. Noisy minority groups, unions, Russia, weirdos, demonstrators, welfare sponges, meddlesome clergy, peaceniks, the BBC, strikers, social workers, communists, and, of course, moderates. And upstart actors. Now, once you're armed with one of these super lists of enemies, you can be as nasty as you like and yet feel your behaviors morally justified. So you can strut around abusing people and telling them you could eat them for breakfast and still think of yourself as a champion of the truth, a fighter for the greater good, and not the rather sad paranoid schizoid that you really are.
So, again, totally relevant to now, way worse, because now you can do that shit from the internet.
Mm.
You can be a greater fighter for the greater good by trashing on people on Twitter and Facebook. You don't even have to go see them in person. And there are so many of these people that's their whole motivation behind their activism. They don't want to convince anyone. Like you were saying earlier, Strategic, it's not their point. They don't care about convincing anyone. They're not trying to change minds like Martin Luther King did. They're not trying to change minds like Daryl Davis did. Because if they didn't have any more racists to fight, then how would they get through their day? It's like their caffeine. But go ahead, man. We are going to be done here very fast anyway. So go ahead, Strategic.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show, man. I appreciate it, man. You helping me keep that whistle wet while I'm on the hiatus. So a comment was made in the comment section by Stefan N. Thanks for watching us, Stefan. Appreciate it. He said, Strategic, you got to look into Martin Luther King because he was a Maoist, right? And I think that's a good example as to why we have such a divide in our country. Who cares? Now, I don't even know if that's true or not, but we seem to care more about people's ideologies than actually what their message is. So, for instance, Donald Trump, I don't support him, but there's things that he did in office that I will say, hey, listen, that's awesome. That's awesome you gave to African American colleges. It's awesome that you are the one who signed in the act that helps small businesses and landlords, etc., during the pandemic. It was Donald Trump who did that. And it was the Biden administration that built off of the laws that he signed in, right? But I don't support him, but I'm able to say, you know what, that was good, and I'm going to give you props for doing those things. Regardless of what a person's ideology is, the greater good is that his movement, which it wasn't just him, it was a whole bunch of other people. It was Jewish, white people, black people, it was a lot of women, etc. You know, they were able to get me from the back of the bus to the front of the bus, that I can sit on this show and speak to a mostly white audience and have two great white guys co-hosting with me, you know. So
Right.
yeah, we care too much about ideology, and this is not a knock on Stefan, and I appreciate you, Stefan, for saying that. You're keeping the conversation going, so don't take it personal. But I think that's where we're at. We care too much about ideology, left, right, communist, whatever. You know what? He could be the biggest commie on the planet. I'd never vote for him to be president, but I'm damn sure grateful that he fought for a specific situation, a specific goal or movement that benefited me. And I think we need to get out of that mindset where, you know, we're in these clubs and these groups. My great awakening was to stop voting simply because of ideology, to start voting what actually personally affected me. So like, I'm socially conservative, I guess, lately. But if you give me your tax dollars, I'm going to pay for universal health care and free college for everybody. You know,
Right.
like, but that's how politics should be. It should be what's personally best for you, and then you vote on that, and hopefully whoever you vote for, if they win, enough people voted for that specific thing, that'll make it happen for you. But I think that's where we're losing out in this country now, because we're so divided on ideology. Like, you have to fit the whole package, and I have to go with you blindly in the direction that you're taking me, instead of being able to say, there's some things about you that I don't like, and there's some things about you that I like, and I'm going to call you out, positive and negative, as I see fit, based off what you're bringing to the table.
Right.
Yeah. By the way, just to let you know that the difference about the whole ideology thing is that we can argue and all, but in the end, we're not trying to cancel each other. In my mind, the cancel culture and the First Amendment auditors are almost on the same level here, and that is they're bullies. They have found a way to harass people, and these people that they harass are helpless. So they've got some poor guy, forcing him to divulge his pronouns with the threat of losing his job. This is bullying. And, you know, I don't really think that the whole pronoun thing really helps anybody. I mean, how does that make anybody's life better? But it's a way to make you backpedal and force you to accept our terms. And I will say this: if these people were bigger and brawnier, they'd have been beating up every kid in school. They're not big enough, and so they use the video camera and the cancel culture thing to go out and basically intimidate and harass people. There.
Well, but it gives them that permission. Like, that's what John Cleese was just talking about. It makes you feel like, well, I'm doing this, and it makes me a good person. You know, like, and it makes me better than you. You know, and it makes me righteous. You know, that's something that Weinstein and I talked about when I had Brett Weinstein. It's the same thing. Is like, it gives them, you know, the people who had that proclivity for that behavior some kind of justification. So anyway, guys, I mean, I know you guys both need to go. You're both exhausted, and so am I. It was a good stream. I see a lot of new names in the chat, guys. So I hope to continue to see you around. And, you know, I'm pretty sure GoodLawgic is still going. Make sure you guys go show him some love. And, you know, check out the Strategic Eyes channel. Check out the Johnny Walker Dread channel. Check out the GoodLawgic channel. Check out Neo Unrealist. And don't forget to go to hy.page/vradio that you see in the upper corner. That is my little like link website where you can find my Discord, my Telegram, my Facebook group. My Discord is active, but it's not super chatty, but it's the best way because I can add everyone there to be really sure that you're actually notified when I do stuff. Because the reality is I get people constantly telling me that they got unsubscribed somehow or they don't get notifications from me. If you can support me financially, I seriously would appreciate it. It's one of the reasons I had to do less content is I had to find ways to make money locally, because that meant I had to take some time away from making content, which is exactly what I was afraid would happen. That's why I told you guys when I switched the model for donations. So you can do that via PayPal. You can do that via Subscribestar. You can do that via Patreon. If there's some other way you'd like to contribute, I do have things like Venmo and all that, but I just don't, I don't post all that stuff. But check out my Discord, even if you don't agree with me. In fact, especially if you do. My audience is a huge conservative base and a huge leftist base, yet somehow we managed to make really good arguments with each other in Discord, and nobody hates each other when they're done. I've only ever had to ban like one person, and that was somebody who just obviously showed up to cause problems. So thanks again, everybody.
Hey, Neil, we're going to have to do a video here pretty soon, a stream on this whole free college thing that Strategic Eyes has been pushing here. I'm going to have to flail him logically on this one.
You want to have a throwdown
Johnny,
on that?
Johnny, we just sent our free college money to Ukraine. All right, and right now it's in the pocket of a comedian / president.
Touche.
I'm just saying. People say it's not free. Of course it's not free, but we just like to throw money down the toilet. We could be investing that in our children. And that's not for the Harvard people. That's just for state and local college. You want to go to Harvard, you want to go to the big school I went through, St. John's and all that stuff, you got to pay out your pocket. But if you want to go to your SUNY, your CUNY, these are the things in New York. I don't know what it is in your municipalities. That should be free. We're investing in our future. Because guess what? These Asians, God bless them, I love them, these Indian folks, they are the future of the human race. They are the ones who are sending their children to learn STEM. Our children are not learning STEM. Our children are not going to college. And our economy is not built to support people who aren't skilled in science and technology. I don't want to just throw good money after bad. I want to invest in our future because I see the tide that's coming. I see that tsunami, that storm that's coming. An uneducated, lack of innovation America while the rest of the world is innovating. That's what's going to take us from our top spot. We're on a top spot not because of a massive army. We're on a top spot because everything that the world enjoys right now, America made. We made microwaves in NASA. That was a part of the space program. We gave them cars. We gave them planes. We gave them the internet. We gave them everything because we innovate. But our population is not educated. And we're going to fall off that pedestal because all our chips are coming from China right now. All of them.
Well, I guess the gauntlet has been thrown down.
Okay, we got ourselves. Make it happen, Neil. Make it happen.
I will make it happen, and God, I'll have to shut up too, because when I'm a moderator, I'm very strict with myself. So just be ready for time limits that are agreed upon ahead of time, and I won't be mean to anybody, but I'll let you know. All right, you got 30 seconds. Wrap it up, and then we'll move on to the next one. I don't think I'll have to do that too much with you guys.
We won't have to worry about it because when Strategic Eyes goes overtime, I'll tell him, "Hey, shut up over there. It's my turn."
You gonna do me like Trump?
we can
Sleepy Strategic. Shut up.
I'm out of handcuff range, so I'm not worried about him.
No, that's very true. We'll disagree with it. With each other and still be human beings at the end.
Absolutely,
that thing is a rare thing that I feel that we all kind of encourage on these channels. So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in tonight. I'll talk to you gentlemen extremely briefly off the air, and then we will be good to go. Remember, check out hy.page/vradio as you see in that picture there, and you can find me on lots of mediums. Not just YouTube, I'm also on Twitch. Not that I really have a huge following there. I don't know how long I'll last there. I'm going to continue broadcasting there, but I use raw footage in a lot of my stuff, so I know it's not going to last. But I'm also on BitChute. You can also check me out on Spotify. I'm one of the people who beta tested the Spotify video system. So they took the system that they created for Joe Rogan, and they're letting other people use it. I'm also set up on Odyssey and on Rumble. All of my stuff gets auto moved over there. So, if there's other mediums you prefer, you can check it out there. I still sometimes do just regular podcasts that are all audio. That's why I was V Radio. You guys can check me out on all those places, and that's also where you can find all my social media. I'm very active on Facebook, and you can add me on Facebook. I'll talk to you. Same thing with Discord, like I mentioned earlier, and Telegram and other places like that. It's just most of those are just to be sure you're actually told, when I'm on. So even if you don't have any intention of talking on my Discord, feel free to join it just so I know absolutely sure that you guys know when I've gone on. So thanks again. Thanks, gentlemen, for coming on tonight.
Hey, thanks,
and
Neil.
thanks for
Peace
everybody
out.
tuning in. Peace.